In the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord.
Make straight in the desert a highway for our God.
Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low.
The rough ground shall become level, the rugged places are plain, and the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all people will see it together.
Throughout history, God has highlighted the mountains and the valleys in culture that need our attention.
Sometimes it's taken decades or even centuries to see a change in the landscape.
And for the glory of God to be revealed.
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
How do the rugged places become plains? What are the mountains and valleys of our society? What landscape lies before our children?
What needs to be levelled, needs to be lifted up.
Visible's aim is to remove and restore the spiritual, emotional, and social obstacles for every person to connect with God. For over 10 years, we have sought to remove the mountain of pornography in people's lives.
Over the next 10, there may be an additional mountain and valley to address, but our purpose remains unchanged.
To remove and restore.
So that all people can have a clear path to God, and His goodness and glory can be revealed. This is our mission.
Remove,
restore,
reveal.
Hello, you are very, very welcome to the 10-year anniversary of Visible Ministries. It's marvellous. I haven't done anything yet, but thank you very much. It's very kind. My name's John Hancock. I'm the chair of trustees. I have a clipboard, therefore I'm official. And it's a real privilege and pleasure to host this evening. So whether you are here in person or whether you are joining online, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting and being a part of the work that we do. We hope that the next 90 minutes or so will be informative and inspiring as it is celebratory and entertaining. We're going to look back at the last 10 years and we're also going to look forward to what we feel is ahead as well. Now, if you were to look up on the Charities Commission website what Visible Ministries was all about, you would see that we exist to help people who are in need, in hardship, or distress, and to do so from a foundation from and a complete conviction in the belief that true freedom can only come from faith in Jesus. As many of you will know, the majority of Visible's activities to date are delivered through our flagship initiative, the Naked Truth Project, a work that seeks to open eyes and free lives from the damaging effects of pornography. We are a growing team, and we provide awareness, education, and recovery programs to men, women, and young people. And tonight, we're going to give you a taste, a little insight into each of the areas of the organization. Now, what's always been a real joy to me is the variety of creative means by which Visible's work is done, and tonight will be no different. So strap yourselves in, okay? Strap yourselves in. In a minute, we're going to give you a taster of our education work. I'd like you to imagine, if you will, that you are back in your assembly hall and that a visitor is coming to teach a lesson. But first of all, we're going to have a performance. We're going to have a spoken word piece by Joshua Luke Smith, a really wonderful artist and a long-term supporter of the Naked Truth Project. This is called The Manifesto.
When they ask us why we stand for this and resist the demands of a system that insists we dilute our standards of treating humanity as a gift, we tell them there's a better way, that we found the path of grace that led us from our graves and we opened up our hearts again. We tell them that we've seen too much, that seductive yet destructive touch that led us from the pathways of love to the desolate wastelands of lust, driving marriages and families and our own sanity into the dust. And we tell them that it ain't worth the cost, that instant gratification always comes at the loss of sustained satisfaction that shortcuts can't cross. We tell them that minds are held hostage, surrounded by a montage of images that sabotage childhood innocence, that in the search for acceptance and significance are riddled with cynicism and indifference. We tell them that people make a profit from the losses of others, coerced, objectified, and uncovered. We tell them however you brand it and however you bottle it, poison will always be poison, no matter how you normalize and offer it. But that there is a better story, and we have heard a sweeter song. Works of art restored back to their original glory, finding places to belong. With open eyes and free lives, we have a vision that we can't unsee, where people believe they're worthy of being loved, and they live with an undisruptible peace, for there is an incorruptible seed buried beneath the soil of our lives that we nourish and feed. There is hope. There is new starts. The light shines in the darkness and it will not be overcome. And so it is with us, restored and wholehearted, sharing the naked truth about porn. And after 10 years, we are just getting started.
Right, very good, Joshua, well done. Girls, phones away. That's not the reason that you're up here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I believe what you meant to say was good evening, headmaster. Good evening, everyone. Better, thank you. Right, I'd like to start by thanking Mrs. Musk from the IT department for arranging these wonderful new screens for our assembly hall. While they are somewhat larger than they were in the picture, they're a welcome addition to a school under special measures. So a round of applause for Mrs. Musk, please. Thank you. Right, before I welcome today's special guest, yes, guest, so we do expect all of you to represent St. Bernadette's flawlessly. I'm looking at you, Ella. That's right. Unfortunately, I do have to start with some announcements about the recent academic achievement. Yes. Unfortunately, it seems that it's been brought to my attention that if some of you, Ella, don't start concentrating in your exams, there will be a much lower average of grades this year, and that we cannot have. I'm sure you'll agree that grades are very important, least of all to my chances of my end-of-year bonus. But, sorry, for your future education, of course, career, etc., blah, blah. I'd like to give you the first example, please. If you spot a mistake in a question, please don't be pedantic. Unbelievable. This is very rude. Teachers have enough stress, and I especially do not enjoy this being pointed out at exam time, especially not by you, Ella. Secondly, if we ask a question, we do expect an actual answer. Who was this? Does anyone wish to own up? Was it you again, Ella? Honestly, you've not even spelled the word answer correctly. Now, before I move on, I must address the conduct of a few students on a recent geography field trip. There is no need for this kind of immature buffoonery. Honestly, sullying the name of our fair school. Henderson, where are you? A tiger costume. Really, Henderson? See me afterwards. I expect more from you all. We are a school of excellence, of clean living and purity of thought. So, now, minds out of the gutters and on to higher things. I'd like for you to join me in welcoming, from the Naked Truth education team, someone who's going to come and talk to you about pornography. Oh my, right. Well, okay, please welcome Natasha. Thank you, Natasha.
Can you go after this? Amazing. Super. Thank you very much, Headmaster, for that introduction. Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Natasha. I work for a charity called the Naked Truth Project. So a little bit as the name suggests, we're going to spend the next 25 minutes talking about porn. Yeah, I know. So there's a vibe change in the room when I mention that word, and that's okay. We'll get to that. But we're going to start off our session today by watching a video. Don't get too excited. Not one of those videos. Obviously not. And that is because, as I'm sure you already know, it is in fact illegal to show pornography to somebody who is under 18. And I really like not being in prison. So we're not going to look at any porn today. That's not what's going to happen here. This is actually a video that they filmed a little bit before the pandemic. And they grabbed some young-looking people in London, and they asked them two questions. They asked them, firstly, how old were they the first time they came across pornography? And they also asked them, how often would they say they access it now? So let's see what they had to say.
The first time I watched porn, I think I was 13.
I think when I was about 12.
Maybe 13, 14.
15.
I was about 11.
Probably about 12.
Yeah.
12, yeah.
I was probably about 10, maybe.
I know I have loads of friends that watch porn for pleasure.
Of course, I liked it. Something new.
It's really easy.
It's really easy to find porn now. Just type into Google whatever you like.
I think I was shocked at first because I had never seen anything explicit before.
We'd never seen sex.
All my friends watch it and talk about it, and that's been since I was 11.
I think everyone I've dated has watched porn.
Like, we're in a generation now where it is normal, porn is normal, and everyone watches it.
I'd say I'd watch porn probably at least once a day at least.
There was a stage where I was 3 times a day, really, 3-4 times a day.
3 to 4 times a week, I'd say.
At least once a week, I guess, or something like that.
That's news to me.
I was addicted to it when I first got into it.
Like, I come home from school, put porn on.
From there, more porn. It was just escalated.
Okay, so I have no idea whether their experiences match your experiences. I don't want to know. Please don't tell me. But there is one particular line in there that always sticks with me, and there's that one lad who just says, all my friends watch it and talk about it, and that has been the case since I was 11. He doesn't maybe seem very happy about that necessarily, but that's been his reality. For him, that's just been like a normal part of teen culture. And so if that is the case, then I think we've got to talk about this, right? If porn is becoming normal or normalized, it's something that needs some adult input. It's something that we should be talking about. But that doesn't magically make it an easy thing to do, right? Maybe you're feeling a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable being in here. What I would love from you, please, is to put your hands in the air and give me a scale from 0 to 10. How are you feeling about being in this assembly? 10 out of 10 is like, bring on the porn session, no problems, let's go. 0 is like, the only thing that could make this worse is if my grandma walked in. So pop your hands up. Let's see how we're doing as a room. Oh, I've got some 10s. Yeah, of course. Front rows full of 10s. Love that. Amazing. Some mid-range. Beautiful. Some people don't want to put their hands up at all. Okay, super. Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. That's great. Thank you so much to my 10s. Thank you for being here. You're my kind of people. Then we're going to have a good time. A little bit later on in the session, I'm going to be looking for some volunteers. I know, very exciting. So brace yourself if that might be you. Equally, if you're feeling a bit more mid-range or a bit bit lower down the scale, that's totally okay. In fact, that's actually quite normal. So thank you for being honest with me, honest with yourselves. But as I say, we think this topic is important enough that even though it can be a little bit awkward, a little bit uncomfortable, we're going to talk about it anyway. But you might still be thinking, well, why porn? Why is porn something that we need to be chatting about? So I'd love you, this is a bit of a guess the number, but last year, 2023, how many hits do you think the top 5 porn sites got across that calendar year? Someone pop your hand up, shout out at me. How many hits do you think the top 5 porn sites got last year? Who wants to guess a number? How many people are there on the planet? There's about 8 billion. Yes, amazing. So do you think upwards of 8? Someone's going, yeah, higher. Yeah, how much higher, you? 40 billion hits. Anyone want to go upwards of 40? 80. Anyone want to go higher than 80? 100. Oh my goodness, triple figure billions. Wow, these are big numbers. These are big numbers. Well, let me tell you the answer. I do have a slide. So the top 5 porn sites together last year received 122 billion hits. Now, it's really hard to think in billions, isn't it? Because we as humans, we're so bad at kind of working out how much bigger they are than millions. So that works out as 14 million visits every single hour, or just under 4,000 visits every single second. Now, I don't put this slide up to scare you. I don't put this slide up to make you think that this is fine, this is totally okay. The reason that I put this number up is basically just to go, it's kind of a big deal, isn't it? Sometimes people ask me, why do I do this job? And that is a fair enough question. What a weird little job for me to have chosen to do. But sometimes the reason they're asking me that question is because they're just like, well, porn just isn't making a difference to anything. Who cares? It's not affecting other people. It's not affecting me, whatever. And I'm going to be really honest with you. When we're talking about this kind of scale, I just think that attitude is a little bit naive, right? If anything was this popular, this prevalent, this widespread, it would be making a difference to stuff, right? It would be impacting society and culture, how we think about ourselves, how we think about other people. At this kind of scale, it basically can't not, right? So the question has stopped being, is porn impacting society? Because the answer kind of has got to be yes. So rather than is it impacting society, the question has started now to be, well, what impact is it having? So that's the title of our session today, is porn, what's a big deal? But I haven't actually defined my terms yet, have I? I haven't said what I mean when I use the word pornography. So let's have a go at that now. I've got a dictionary definition from the Collins English Dictionary, which says that pornography is writings, pictures, films, etc., that are designed to stimulate sexual excitement. Now, what I think is really interesting about this definition is that it's really clear that it's a whole bunch of different types of media, right? Sometimes when we imagine pornography, we can jump straight to video media or photography, but I don't know if you've ever stumbled across any fan fiction that's been written online. A whole bunch of that could essentially be termed pornographic. Some of the fan art you can find online can be pornographic, and that could be cartoons, that could be animation, and the new genre that the porn industry is pushing into just now is actually audio-only pornography. I think maybe to appeal to the podcast generation, or there's some existing ASMR that's kind of already going in that direction anyway. Maybe it makes sense for the industry to capitalize. But when I use the term pornography today, I'm talking about all these different types of thing, right? It's not just one kind of media. And that is why I'm going to try and use the language of consume pornography rather than watch pornography, right? Because not all pornography is watched. Some of it is read and some of it is listened to. What I also think is interesting about this definition is that it's like, okay, well, what is the purpose of the media? It can be any kind of media, but what is the point of it? Why was it created, or why was it created in that way? And if the answer is that actually the reason it was made, or the reason it was made in this way, is to stimulate sexual excitement, i.e. to turn somebody on, well, then Collins is saying that that is what makes that thing pornographic. And that can be really interesting, can't it? Because that doesn't have to involve any nudity at all. Like, it can, a lot of porn does, but it doesn't have to. And that's because not all nudity is sexual, right? And you know this when you take your clothes off to have a shower in the morning or in the evening if you're a weird evening showerer. That's not a sex thing, right? You're naked, but it's nothing to do with sex. Not all nakedness is sexual. But if we recognize that, the flip side must also be true, right? Things can therefore be sexual without involving any nudity at all. And I guess the classic example of this that a lot of us might think of is music videos. Perhaps we can all call to mind certain music videos where technically they're PG, right? In theory, everybody's clothed. But the way that they have been shot and directed and choreographed is deliberately done that way to turn you on. So you think, oh, quite enjoyed watching that. Maybe I'll go back and I'll stream that again. And ultimately, that is how a lot of these organizations, they make their money from your time, your clicks, your attention, maybe eventually your own money, because you might pay to own that single or whatever. So I think this is a really interesting definition. Whatever kind of media it is, why was it made, or why was it made like this? But we have a slightly different definition that we like to use in the Naked Truth Project. And to help us out with that is this guy. Who's this? Shout at me. Is this Jamie Oliver? What's he famous for? He's a chef. What made him famous in the first place? He didn't do porn, by the way. That's not, don't be spreading that around. We'll get sued for libel. I can't afford that. What made him famous in the first place? What did he call himself when he first became famous? The naked chef, right, exactly. Now, that didn't mean that he was naked, right? It'd be quite dangerous to be naked in a kitchen with all kind of sharp objects and open flames and that kind of thing. The reason that he called himself the naked chef is because he was so passionate about like good, clean, healthy, organic, nutritious ingredients. He just loved those so much that basically he ran an anti-junk food campaign. Exactly, he was so pro the good stuff that when somebody was holding up this junk version and saying it was better or saying it was normal or it was being served to our nation's kids and no one seemed to care about the consequences, well, that made him angry and sad, and so he campaigned against it. Now, this is where I put my hands up, put our cards on the table. I say at the Naked Truth Project, we feel a little bit similarly when it comes to pornography. We would call ourselves an anti-porn organization. Now, please don't panic. The purpose of this isn't that you all magically agree with me by the end of our assembly together. That's not what this is for. It's not a conversion project. We just think we should be real with you about what's our position, what's our angle on this, rather than you being like, yeah, but what does Tasha really think about this? Because you don't have to ask that. I've just told you what I think. But in the same way that you could never say that Jamie Oliver is anti-all food, we would say at Naked Truth that we are not anti-sex. We think there is really good sex out there to be had, right? Good, healthy, relational, connective sex. And so when someone else is holding up this junk version and saying it's better, or saying it's normal, or it's natural, or it's being served to our nation's kids, and no one seems to care about the consequences, well, that makes us angry and sad. And so we campaign against it. So our definition for today is that pornography is the junk food of healthy sex and relationships. Maybe like a quick fix you could get hold of if you're having a particular craving, but ultimately, and in the long term and over a long period of time, it's not the kind of gourmet goodness that we all need and actually all of us deserve. Now, before we consume some junk food, Jamie Oliver wants us to ask 3 questions before we put it on our body. He wants us to ask, is this good for me? He wants us to ask, what's in this? And he wants us to ask, how was it made? So we're going to spend the rest of our time together chatting about pornography, trying to answer these 3 questions. Is it good for us? What's in it? And how was it made? And we're going to start off with talking about, is it good for me? I always get so hungry looking at these pictures that, oh my goodness, I've had my dinner and I really want a burger. So, is it good for me? On the next slide, I'm going to show you a couple of adverts, not for porn, don't be worried, but actually for a different product. So let's have those adverts up. So that chap over there on the left, what does it say his job is? He's a doctor, yeah, and what's he got in his hand? Cigarette, amazing. Lady on the right, notice anything about her? She's pregnant, and what's she holding? Packet of cigarettes, yeah, harder to see, but yeah, good spot there. And she's like, smoking is going to give me a really small baby and a really low birth weight, and isn't that amazing? Now, when you, in the year of our Lord, 2024, are mooching about your lives and you see something to do with smoking on a bus stop or in a shop where you might buy some, does it normally look like this? No. What would you sort of see instead? What would you see instead? Some gross lungs. Yeah. What else? Oh, that was someone's doing their hair. Sorry, I thought that was a hand up. I got very excited. What goes along with that? Pictures of manky teeth. Yeah, you get some pretty heavy-handed messaging, can't you? Sometimes it can be really serious. Like if you even look at a cigarette once, everyone you love will definitely die. Like, whoa, this is quite intense. So this is a little while ago, right? This sort of stuff would have been normal, but it's within living memory, right? So my parents remember these Camels adverts on the left there. So what changed? How did we get from this, doctors promoting smoking, to the stuff that you're used to seeing, manky teeth and a gross lung? What happened in the middle there? Yeah, well, first of all, people got hurt and died. Yeah, absolutely, and that was pretty bleak. And then off the back of that, what did people decide to do? Yes, some clever bods did some science, and they worked out from that science that actually smoking really bad for you. In fact, maybe we should tell people not to do it. So so off the back of that science, there were two main things. First of all, they ran a massive communication campaign, basically. And so I don't know how old you would have been the first time you had a no smoking lesson, the first time an adult said to you, hey, smoking's quite harmful. But I know that I was in primary school, right? I was 8 years old or something. Now that is a long time away from if I wanted to when I was 18, and if I wanted to to go and buy some cigarettes now. I can, I'm entitled to do so. But what I can't do is say, hey, I didn't know this was harmful. I didn't know this could hurt me, because I have been told, right? I've been told by society. I've been told by the packaging and the people around me. So they did a communication campaign, and they changed the law. They made it harder to access stuff like this off the back of that really good science that they ended up doing. Now, I don't know if you know, but some similarly clever bods have done some research when it comes to pornography. And they have actually also found out that if we consume enough of it, porn can actually also end up being pretty harmful for us too. And we're going to do a very quick science demo, I know, to explain this. And I would like some volunteers for this one. Who's excited? Oh, yeah. Ella, is it? Been hearing about you. I'd love you to volunteer. Amazing. Let's have you as well. Well volunteered. Beautiful bit of volunteering. Headmaster Oldham, let's get you up as well. And can we have another staff member? Maybe let's have Mr. Reese. Up you come. Amazing. Beautiful bit of volunteering there. Perfect. All you need to do is stand in a line, facing out at these beautiful people. And you just put your hands out in front of you like that. Maybe put them together. There we go. Yeah, you're together, but ready to receive. Love that. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Reese. Amazing. So for this little science demonstration, I would like us to imagine, please, that we are inside my brain. And the job that I am playing here in the brain is the part of the reward center. It's the reward center's job in the brain to give out some tasty chemicals, some tasty hormones, whenever I do something that is going to prolong my life or that has the capacity to create future life. So that's the reward center's job. And basically what I've got in here is some very delicious, as you can, I'm sure, hopefully see, very delicious chemicals. Mostly it's dopamine, but a little bit of serotonin, a little bit of endorphins in there as well. And then these beautiful four are some of the neuroreceptors in my brain. It is their job to receive these tasty chemicals whenever I do something that's going to prolong my life or that has the capacity to create future life. So let's make sure they're all switched on. Let's imagine that I was feeling very healthy this morning. I got up. I decided to go for a run. That's a good thing to do. Your body rewards you for doing a healthy thing. I'm going to give out some dopamine. When you each receive your dopamine, can I have a little whoop from each of you into the microphone? Whoop. Lovely.
Whoop.
Whoop. Fantastic. Whoop! Oh, this guy loves a run. Amazing. Super. So they're all switched on. Now let's imagine, that's something that could prolong or sustain my life. What about something that has the capacity to create future life? Let's imagine that I have sex. Do you think I'm going to release a little bit more dopamine for sex than I am for going for a run? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone's like, yes, absolutely. Here we go. Right. More dopamine, bigger whoop. Whoop.
Whoop.
Woo! Woo! Oh, yes. Amazing. Super. Great. So we get how the system's supposed to work. They're all switched on. Amazing. Now, what I'd like us to imagine is that I consume pornography for the first time. Now, in and of itself, that's not going to prolong my life or sustain my life, as it doesn't have the capacity to create future life either. So you'd be forgiven for thinking, well, the reward center can just chill out here. There's nothing to do. But pornography is what we call in the business a supranormal stimulus. That just means more than normal or over normal. And that's because the number of different sexual partners that your brain thinks you have access to in a short space of time, or like the kind of extremity of the acts being depicted or described, is just way more extreme than you'd ever actually expect to come across in your real life sex life. And so in response to this over normal stimulus, your body kind of responds appropriately, and it gives you a more than normal hit of dopamine. So big whoops this time, please. Woo! That's amazing.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Didn't even need the microphone there. Amazing. Oh my goodness, great. So how am I feeling now? Feeling okay? If this was a drugs assembly rather than a porn assembly, what language might you use to describe the way that I'm feeling right now? I'm feeling high, right? I've got so many chemicals in my brain that my neuroreceptors literally cannot handle them all, right? They can't even cope. And so when I'm that way, I'm kind of feeling a bit spaced out, a bit kind of high, a bit wired. Your body knows that you're not safe when you're like that. You can't defend yourself. You can't run away from predators. And so it tries to discourage you, basically, from doing that behavior again in the future. And the way that it does that is by shutting down some neuroreceptors. So, sirs, please may you drop your dopamine and put your hands behind your back. Yeah, I know. But I quite enjoyed the pornography that I accessed, so I'm going to do it again. Big whoop, ready? Whoop!
Whoop! No whoops.
No whoops.
No.
No. Zero whoops. But you.
Woo!
Yes. And again, I'm fighting with my brain, and so I'm going to shut down even more neuroreceptors. So both of you, drop your dopamine, put your hands behind your back. Compared to the high of earlier, how am I feeling now? I feel low, right? I feel rubbish. I feel like, oh, why have I just done what I've done? Why? That was so stupid. Maybe I'll never be good at anything, because dopamine's a really important hormone, right? It's the one that makes us feel like we're worthy, like we're good at stuff. And I've got myself into a system where I physically cannot feel that way. I can't get out of the low, no matter how many times I might try and chase it away with the next high. And this is the cycle of addiction, chasing a previous high that physically you are not able to achieve. Can we have a massive round of applause for our beautiful neuroreceptors? Can you help me put them back in the bucket? Or not, that's fine. We can leave them. We'll leave them. We're going to keep going. I'm going to keep going, and they're going to do my cleaning. Thank you so much. Oh, that's great. They're going to work for their dopamine. I love that. Amazing. So, to summarize, basically, that was a little goofy science demonstration. I'm going to try and kind of scoop some of them back towards them there, basically. Can I have my next slide? I feel like Chris Whitty doing all this science. Oh, yes, here we go. Yep, can I have my next slide? Basically, this a cycle of highs and lows in the brain. To artificially high highs followed by artificially low lows. This is great. Amazing. And that's the feedback loop that can become harder and harder to escape. These are now this dopamine is going to be on the stage now. Just as a reminder to you of the fun we've had. Beautiful. And so your tolerance can build up, so you need more of it. Now, maybe this is something you've already experienced or that your mates have talked to you about, but the stuff that used to turn you on doesn't work anymore. So you need more of it, whether it's more like hardcore stuff or to be accessing it more frequently, or you just need new stuff all the time. But if one of my friends said to me, Tasha, I don't bother drinking beer anymore. It's pointless. I can't get drunk from beer. I only drink wine or hard spirits. I'd be really worried about my friend. And so, yeah, it's exactly as worrying when it comes to our sexuality. It can create a dependency and mean that we can't function without it. Again, if one of my friends said to me, Tasha, I can't get up in the morning without a glass of wine. I can't go to sleep at night without a glass of whiskey. I'd be really concerned about my friend. That's setting off alarm bells on my head, right? Do you need some help? It's exactly as worrying when it comes to our sexuality. If we can't get up in the morning without consuming pornography, if we can't go to sleep at night without consuming pornography, we've become dependent on it to function. It's controlling us and not the other way around. And it can mean that we take risks or make bad or even just weird decisions in order to get a fix. Now, all of that so far is to answer the question of, is pornography good for us? Now, please make up your own minds, but I would suggest that the answer could be no. In fact, porn could end up being really quite bad for us. Our middle section then, we're going to talk a little bit about what's in this. And the data that we have in this section is a bit less sciencey. It's more qualitative data. This is people kind of talking about what their experiences have been, about what impact has pornography had on their relationships, on their sex lives. Our first video here is from the same young people we heard from right at the beginning, and they're just talking about what they've seen in pornography do in their real-life sex lives and relationships. Let's go for this one.
My personal experience, I definitely learned a lot from porn.
It's like a manual. Watching porn is like a manual, I suppose.
That's the whole point of it, really, to then take that video and then, do it on a bird. That's the aim.
I think guys are thinking they're learning, that they're learning about sex.
People expect you to do more things. Well, boys definitely have higher expectations of how girls should act sexually.
I reckon watching porn makes them want to do more things.
And if you kind of say, oh, I'm not really up for that, then people might think that you're a prude or that you're kind of a bit frigid.
I think also like the expectation of what your body looks like. Big boobs, big bum, little waist, shaven.
Yeah.
Guys really do expect you to be shaved now because of porn.
Yeah, they have to be shaven, of course. Girls have to be shaven, otherwise I don't go there.
It gives people warped ideas of what sex should be like.
Okay, so a bunch of opinions kind of just thrown out there, some stuff that I agree with, some stuff that I definitely do not agree with. There's a couple of themes there, though, that I kind of want to pull out. And the first one is they spend quite a lot of time talking about body type, don't they? And they talk particularly about the archetypal female body, big boobs, big bum, little waist, shaven, all of that. But let's be really honest here. The male bodies that we come across in pornography are exactly as unrealistic as the female bodies, right? And this is especially true if we're consuming pornography that is like cartoon or animation, because those creators, they are not bound by the laws of physics, right? They can be creating like proportions and positions that would be physically impossible to do in real life. And so I think if we're comparing ourselves to this totally unrealistic expectation, that can have two main impacts on us. The first one that it can have is that it can make us really insecure, because we just think, oh, well, I don't look like that. There's nothing that I could ever do with my hair or my face or my body that would make me look like that. So does that just mean that I'm not hot and no one's ever going to want to be with me? I don't want you to be insecure. You guys are all brilliant. I don't want you to feel insecure. But that's how pornography can leave us feeling. Or if we're applying these standards to every single person in the world except ourselves, then they can make us really shallow, right? And I'm sure a lot of you would have met adults who are shallow, right? It's just embarrassing, right? It's just really cringy. I don't want you to grow up into being those adults. But again, that's one of the other mindsets that pornography can push us down. And I just want better for you than that. The other thing that they spend a bit of time talking about is a girl right at the beginning says, it's a manual. Watching porn's like a manual, I suppose. And you'll be unsurprised, I'm sure, to hear that we think that pornography is quite a bad manual for how to have sex. And the analogy that we like to use here is one of driving. So in a couple of years' time, a bunch of you are going to be eligible to take your driving test. How exciting is that going to be? And so I'd love you to imagine with me that you are sat on the test center forecourt ready to pull away and start your driving test. There's just one problem. You've never had a driving lesson before. You've never driven a real car. But you're not an idiot. You've done your research. You have played loads and loads of Mario Kart, and you have watched all the Fast and Furious films. There's about 15 of them now, maybe even more than that. And you've studied in detail every single James Bond car chase. And now that's backing you up. If you're sat on the driving test forecourt, ready to pull away and start your driving test, do you think that you are going to pass with no minors? There's always some kid who's like, yes! And I'm like, okay, great, come back to me when you actually start learning to drive. And that's because there's nothing wrong with Mario Kart, right? Nothing wrong with a James Bond car chase. But they're not real, are they? They're entertainment, not education. They're not there to teach you how to drive. I drove up here yesterday. If I'd made that drive like James Bond, I'd probably have damaged myself, I'd have damaged my vehicle, I'd have damaged some other people and their stuff as well. And it's kind of the same if we're learning how to have sex from pornography. We run the risk of damaging ourselves, of damaging somebody else and maybe some stuff, because it's not there to teach us how to have sex. It's entertainment, not education. And so if we're going to it looking for a how-to guide, we're trying to get it to answer questions that it is literally not equipped to answer. Now, I'm looking at the time, and I don't want you to miss your break time because that would be really sad. So we're going to skip over my next video, and we're going to jump into our third section, which is how was it made. And we've just got one final video in this section, and we're going to watch that now.
This is Anna. Wait, don't click to someone else yet because Anna's stuck here on your computer screen. And while you can walk away, her image is stuck on the internet. See, your fantasy is Anna's nightmare. There's a good chance recruiters lured her with flattery. Perhaps they baited her with cash. Maybe they even tranquilized her with date rape drugs. And if Anna's like many others, she stays sedated with alcohol, weed, or coke to numb the pain. Chances are she faces STDs and HIV because she's denied access to protection. We don't know what she's been through because we only see Anna smiling, and they keep showing Anna smiling so that you'll keep watching. See, pornography is integral to human trafficking and prostitution. In 9 countries, almost half, 49%, said that pornography was made of them while they were in prostitution. This generation fights sex trafficking more than anyone ever has, and more than anyone ever has, this generation consumes porn. Fighting human trafficking and then watching porn is like protesting a corrupt politician and then donating to his campaign. You browse privately going from Anna to Zoe and back to Anna. Watch your favorite fantasy and then walk away. But Anna's still there, she's stuck there, stuck in this life because you click. Each click, each link, each URL visit and play button, this is the currency of porn. This is the price of Anna's life. The $100 billion pornography industry is fueling the appetite for children as well. Teenage girls now make up the biggest slice of viewable porn, which by definition is considered trafficking. The demand for porn fuels the trafficking industry, and you can take away that demand. You can cut the cord on this machine. You can bankrupt the system. You can empty the pimp's pockets. You can free Anna by simply refusing to click.
Heavy. That video is quite heavy, and it might have been too heavy for some of you, and that's okay. That's okay. But others of you are asking these sorts of ethical questions about other things in your life, right? Maybe you're choosing to only buy fair trade chocolate because you want to know that there's no slave wages involved in the stuff that you put in your body. Or maybe you choose not to participate in kind of fast fashion trends because you want to know there's no slave labor, no slave wages involved in the stuff that you put on your body, that you put on your back. And so really, all I'm asking is for you to kind of apply that same lens of questioning to the stuff that you consume online. Actually, what's the supply chain here? How are people treated? You know, how confident can you be that everybody involved on set that day genuinely consented to the stuff that occurred? How confident can you be that they're still okay with it being available to consume online now? How confident can you even be that those performers are still alive? Because for me, I want to have pretty good answers to those questions. Because if I can't answer those questions well, then what might be happening is actually that I'm getting off to somebody else's misery. And that's not the sort of person that I want to be. Each of you, as you grow up, gets to decide what sort of person you want to be. Year 12, you have been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for having me. That is everything from me. I'm done. That's all my content. We've got somebody else coming up now. Here we go.
Yeah. Well done. Nailed it.
Thanks, Tash. Hi, everyone. My name's Ian, and you may know this already, but I am the founder of Naked Truth and Visible Ministries. I can't believe that we are celebrating 10 years this moment, this month, 10 years. So exciting. And so what I'm going to do over next section, you right there? Headmaster and caretaker, all in one. You did say the school was in special measures, so that explains a lot. Okay, so I'm going to take you on a little bit of a journey, really, over the last 10 years and look at some of the highlights, some of the kind of key things that have been happening over that time. And of course, I'm going to focus, really, on our flagship initiative, the Naked Truth Project. So, whether I'm at the barber's or maybe trying to get my car insured, I can normally start or stop a conversation when someone asks me, so what do you do? And particularly if I lead with, well, I work for a porn project. But one of the things I have noticed over the last 10 years is that there's been a bit of a change, actually, in the kind of reactions that you get from people. I've noticed that what used to be kind of like a face of, oh my goodness, who would do that? That subtly those faces are shifting into more kind of like, yeah, okay, I can see why that might be needed. Only recently, somebody asked me and they said, how did you know? Like, how did you know 10 years ago that things would happen in the way they would in digital technology and with pornography, and that something like Naked Truth would be so needed? And to be honest, I didn't know. Those of you that know my story will know that I kind of reluctantly, really, took on this Goliath of an issue, and I definitely didn't feel like David, you know, with sling in hand, bravely standing before it. But I guess, like David, I did have a conviction that I felt was from God, and really that conviction was simply this. I felt that I had to do something about what I could see was happening. One of the things that I'd seen firsthand was through my dad's life. The devastation of a hidden porn addiction and the ripples of ruin that impacted other people's lives as well. In 2007, my dad was arrested for having child abuse images, child pornography, on his computer. And it felt like for us as a family, our lives completely changed. It was a complete and sudden shock for all of us. Our world was turned upside down by a phone call. But I guess now I realize that that sudden shock was really the result of decades of hidden porn addiction, incremental decisions and actions and inactions that had led my dad down that dark path. And in a way, his arrest was just the tipping point of a much longer story. It's a bit like that line in an Ernest Hemingway book. Maybe you've heard it. One of the characters is simply asked, how did you become bankrupt? How did you go bankrupt? And the character answers, well, in two ways. Gradually and then suddenly. And I guess that's how it was with my dad. His downfall happened both gradually and suddenly. And our lives had changed forever. But as I dealt with that personal impact, I guess, of my dad's story, I started to notice that there was this cultural and technological shift that was happening as well. I read this, that over the past 30 years, we've seen more technological advances than in the rest of human history combined. I don't know if that's completely true, but actually it sounds pretty close to the truth, doesn't it? But what might surprise you is that actually much of that technological revolution and innovation has been driven by the porn industry. In the 1980s, for example, the adult film industry played a key role in the battle between VHS and Betamax. Do you remember those? And actually, here was the thing. Sony, the big kind of movie company, it had decided and backed Betamax. It was better quality, it was a better format. But the porn producers, they wanted the cheaper option of VHS. They were doing multiple copies. They just wanted something that could be produced cheaper. And so the movie studios didn't want consumers to have to choose between whether they were going to watch a Hollywood movie or a blue movie. And so actually they shifted their whole thing over to VHS as well. And so VHS won out, became the dominant format. In the 1990s, Playboy actually distributed free high-speed modems to their subscribers so that they could get to the new online bulletins that they'd started doing. And that pushed the broadband development forward. Webcam technology, live streaming, real-time chats, all these technologies were actually pioneered by the porn industry. In the 2000s, the adult industry embraced the free ad kind of supported model of tube sites like YouTube that we're used to. And that revolutionized streaming and web analytics as well. And then more recently, the pornography has been at the forefront of developing VR technology. So whether it's VHS or VR, the porn industry has consistently been driving technological change. And as a result, pornography has become more accessible and more anonymous and more addictive than ever before. By the way, when you run an organization that talks about porn a lot of the time and you struggle to say the word anonymous, it's just one of the things that's been sent to try us. In 1991, when the World Wide Web went live, when it went online, there were fewer than 90 adult magazines in circulation. Today, one porn site receives more daily visits than the combination of the UK, Canada, and Australia combined. More people view the internet, more people view internet pornography in 1 month than Netflix, Amazon, and X combined. And it's this shift from the sex shop to the smartphone, the top shelf to the back pocket, that means that the average porn user is no longer some guy leaving a seedy shop wearing a dirty Mac, but it can be anyone who owns a product made by Mac or Samsung. And it's really in that way, and against this backdrop, that in 2011, I began to see this kind of mountainous landscape that was emerging in front of us. I maybe started to understand a little bit some of the obstruction and devastation that that mountainous landscape might cause. But I also started to just simply ask some questions. Things like, what if we could help people before or even after their lives and their marriages and their faith were bankrupted by pornography? What if we could give the young people who were growing up in this new landscape a map that would help them navigate these digital dangers? What if we could in some way articulate wisdom's invitation and offer a brighter and better path? And these were huge, huge questions. And to be honest, I didn't have hardly any of the answers, but I knew we had to start somewhere. And so my wife, Jen, and I, what we did is we just called some friends. Some of them are even here tonight in the room. And these people were creative, and also they were prayerful, which was important for me. And what we did is we hired a karaoke room, like this private karaoke booth, not to sing, but actually to brainstorm and to pray and to imagine together. We even used the lyrics from the top 10 songs at the time to kind of spark that creativity and those prayers so that we could think about the culture we were trying to reach. And I'll be honest, it was a bit odd, and probably the people in the karaoke place thought we were a bit strange. But out of that meeting, in that karaoke booth, one of the things that came out was this core aim of Naked Truth: to open eyes and free lives from the damaging impact of pornography. You see, from the start, I think we knew that we wanted to try and help the people who were struggling, who were drowning in the devastation of porn use. But we also almost sensed that it was just as important that we would go upstream and try and prevent those people from falling in the water in the first place. You know, I find it incredible to think that the 13-year-old pupils that some of our team were teaching in school last week were born in the same year that we birthed this idea and this vision of Naked Truth. So, in 2012, we launched our first awareness campaign. We worked with this Manchester artist, and we created billboards and stickers, and it all kind of led to a kind of awareness website. And we did a bit of guerrilla marketing, and we were just getting going. In that first year, we also had our first prayer gathering. Naked Truth is deliberate in trying to make sure that its programs are accessible to people of no faith or any faith. But for us as a team, we deeply believe in the importance of prayer. We believe that actually the stuff that we want to see happen, it needs something so much bigger than us. And for me, often the prayer that we do as a team is as much not trying to persuade God to bring transformation in the lives of those that we're walking with, but actually just to remind myself that he can and that he does. And so prayer is important for us. But fast forward now to 2014, and it is the year of many firsts. This, of course, is the year when Visible actually becomes a charity for the first time. I've now left my job at the Message Trust, who I love and loved, and I'm our first employee of Visible, sitting at my dining room table wondering what on earth is going on. But also, this was in 2014, the first time that we were involved in a parliamentary conference, and we began to form partnerships with organizations who were working to see a change in the law. We realized that was an important part of this upstream thinking. That year, we delivered our first ever schools lessons in Harrow, of all places. We also had our first conference for churches, where we brought together a neuroscientist from the States, a former porn performer, and Dr. Paula Hall, who was the UK's leading therapist in porn addiction. Actually, in some ways, one of the most significant moments in that year of 2014 was when Paula had reached out to me earlier in the year. She'd heard about Naked Truth from a friend of a friend, and she basically just offered to give her expertise and her tools and her experience for free so that we could develop the Click to Kick program. And Click to Kick was an 8-week course for those struggling with porn, and it was a game changer for us. You see, I've talked a little bit about how technology has made pornography more accessible and anonymous, but here's the thing. One of the things we realized was actually that same technology that causes that harm could also be used to bring help and hope to people. And so we decided that we would do this new Click to Kick course online. We did online support groups. And that allowed people to join confidentially from anywhere in the world. Some people joined sitting on their phones in their car at lunchtime. And we did all this on Zoom, long before Zoom was a household name. In fact, we spent quite a lot of time trying to explain to people what Zoom was. But this approach, it wasn't just innovation for the sake of it, you know? It wasn't just like, hey, let's try and be cool and wacky. We were really doing it for what were still very personal reasons. I kept asking myself, if there had been something that was this accessible for my dad, before things had become illegal and abusive, what would that have looked like? What would that help have been like? And Click to Kick was in some ways the first steps to answering that question. Since 2014, Click to Kick has grown into a vital part of our work. We have now run over 160 of these 8-week courses, both male and female groups. 2022 marked the first of our non-English speaking Click to Kick groups, and also our 100th group being completed. And right now, literally this week, I think we have 8 different groups running at different times where people from around the world, as I said, can finally break free. And in fact, many of those first seeds that were sown in 2014 have grown over the last 10 years. We continue to start conversations within culture. We've shared our stories now with millions through mainstream media. For example, one of our team, Bethany's brave story, became the most watched video on the BBC News app. And then in 2021, thanks to their generosity, we were fortunate to receive a free year of PR from a PR agency called Jersey Road. And they helped us reach literally hundreds of millions of people through 90 different media outlets telling our stories. Our schools work has also grown steadily too, and last year alone, we reached over 20,000 pupils. Recently, Tash, who you've just seen, she was telling us about a time where she was teaching the lesson, some of the lesson that you just saw, and she noticed that one of the girls in the class was crying, and so at the end of it, she kind of went to her, of course, and said to her, are you okay? Was there something that got said that upset you? And she said, no, nothing you said was a problem. It's just I realize I have got to sort out my porn use. We estimate that we've taught up to 100,000 pupils in school sessions in the last decade. And we've seen thousands of parents because, of course, they're doing that same work as well. We've run 8 different conferences now with churches, with thousands of leaders attending. We've published several books for churches and Christians, and we've also launched a free app that Christians and churches can use to be educated and equipped. In 2017, Kat, who you'll meet in a moment, joined, and she started to lead programs for partners and spouses. She then became the head of recovery and has built this incredible team of professional coaches and counselors, and who now provide 4,000 hours of professional support every year. And we have 16 facilitated groups running every single week for clients. You're going to hear more, though, about that later. During COVID, I still sigh when I say the word. You'll not be surprised that, porn use spiked. One website was boasting a 25% increase during the COVID years. And our programs and the need for our programs spiked too. So much so, actually, that we got to a point where we didn't have enough facilitators to run those groups. So one of the things that we did do is we released Control-Alt-Delete. And this was our first kind of video-on-demand resource. And so people can now get help anytime, anywhere, immediately by downloading that app and start working their way through those videos and those exercises. In 2015, we were mentioned in the House of Lords debate, which was pretty crazy. And over the last 10 years, we've now raised the issue of porn in Parliament 5 different times. We're currently part of a multi-agency coalition that is continuing to lobby government around the social costs of pornography. And in fact, that's probably one of the standout stories for me from the last 10 years. I'll never forget when we had an event in the House of Commons. And to be honest, it wasn't the grand location, because we were actually in quite a small meeting room, or even the presence of the parliamentarians who were there that made the biggest impression on me. The thing that really impacted me from that day was the clients and the team who stood up and they shared to those people in that place their personal stories. They spoke with courage and honesty about the harms that porn has had in their lives and inflicted on their families. But they also shared, often with tears in their eyes, the journeys of restoration and the healing that they'd experienced. And in my mind, as I think about the 10 years, those people and those stories were more beautiful, more powerful than the building we were sitting in as I was listening to them. When I sat in that karaoke booth and we sat and chatted and we kind of came up with ideas, I never would have imagined that the stories of restoration that were being told or that would get told would not only be told by clients, those people that we work with, but also by our staff members. I think now, for me, it's one of my greatest joys that our team have their own stories. and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But the team is growing. We now have a staff team of 32. And then in 2017, we started something called our associate program, where we train individuals to lead some of the click-to-kick groups, to go into schools and teach some of the lessons. And we have another 34 associates who are active. So our wider team of 66 people are based around the world. They are literally 100% remote. And you'll kind of see maybe a little video of where all the different people are. But these guys are incredible. They are very much part of what makes Naked Truth and Visible what it is. And so, we're still trying to open eyes through education and awareness. We're still trying to free lives through recovery programs for users and for partners. But what I do know is this, that we've come quite a long way since I was sitting on a dining room table wondering, what have we done? 10 years on, I am proud of the team that I've been able to journey with. I'm humbled by the courage of our clients. I'm encouraged by the generosity of our partners and our funders. And I'm inspired by the example and the direction of Jesus, who, to be honest, none of this would have happened without him. And so we've seen restoration, we've seen salvation, we've even seen a little bit of cultural transformation. And so here's to the next 10 years. Thanks, mate.
It's great, isn't it, to reflect back on the last 10 years and what we've always been able to really proudly say, and we have been able to say this way before we knew what COVID was or what Zoom was, is that we've been able to say that freedom from porn is possible. And we see that literally every day of the week in our recovery programs. And at every trustees meeting that we have, we thank God for the team who deliver the work, for the numbers of those that we help, and the stories of those who are changed as well. And we're going to spend just a short time now hearing some stories from people who have benefited from the recovery work of the Naked Truth Project. Joshua is going to tell his own story, first of all, in a poem called Vacant. And then Owen is going to come and share how the Click to Kick course helped him.
I remember when I first met you. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The moment I set eyes on you, I was hypnotized by you. As I looked down at your thighs, all I could think about was the things that I might do if I could be alone with you, at home on my own with you. And so I started to get bold with you, acting like I was older too. Every time we got together and such, and you told me you were tender, but I knew you had a venomous touch. And I felt way out of my depth, but it was never enough, so I just kept coming back for that adrenaline rush. And then we got together daily, and you taught me to see the world differently. You took my childish naivety, held my eyes over the fire till you burnt away my desire for mystery, and I knew that you were dangerous. Because when I told people I was seeing you, they told me to keep my distance, but I just thought they couldn't see what I could see in you. Because you were always there when I needed you. Told me the other girls wouldn't be good enough and I could only get what I need from you, and I should make my main pursuit self-gratification. Because I would never find a relationship worth its cost or complication. But as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, I started to get frustrated. Despite your talk and your temptation, your body without blemish and pixel perfect presentation, never once left your presence without the sense of being vacant. Like a house that no one lives in. Every time I would give in and submit to your temptation, I was sentenced to a prison with bricks made out of lust and an infiltrated vision where I could only ever see women as beings built for my seduction but unwilling in their submission. I was blinded by your beauty, too in denial to see that you had the power to ruin me and pull apart my family, but now I found a reality that has crucified my fantasy, and that's all that you ever were. Did I tell you I met a girl? She's my wife now, and you'll never be anything but a shell of her. That's the reason that it's been a while. That's the reason we don't talk at all. That's the reason I can't look at you and don't pick up despite the times you call, 'cause all you ever had to tempt me with was the desire to take a fix that would distract me from a brokenness that now I know could only heal with peace and patience, kindness, and a whole lot of devotedness. But I saw a friend recently, and he told me he's been seeing you now. And I can't let you leave another person bent double and bleeding out, so I know it's taken me some time, but I'm finally speaking out, because your strength is fashioned in the shadows. So you are not a secret now. Your name is porn. You take many forms, but you do nothing but wrong. Because in the heart of every person is the authentic desire to connect and to belong, and all you've ever been is muted screams behind computer screens that deny, delay, and defute the dreams of being loved by someone. I regret the time I gave you and the way you confused my mind with your image. But I've learned my story isn't over. I have a hope and a future, and it is beautiful, and you are not in it.
Hey there, my name's Owen, and for around 30 years of my life I've struggled with pornography. I've been a Christian for many years as well, and over those years I've tried lots of different things to kind of help me to beat it. I've read lots of books, tried lots of courses, done lots of things, and to different degrees they were helpful, including like prayer ministry and things like that. But I always found that I was still stuck in the cycle and never quite managed to break out of it. Even though I did manage to stop it escalating too far, it kept coming back in my life. And in 2021, I went to the P Word conference, and I just saw like a window into something that was a bit different. And I thought, I need to find out more about this. So I did the Control-Alt-Delete course while I was waiting for a Click-to-Kit course to come up. And then I did the Click-to-Kit course in 2022. What I found about Click-to-Kit was that it was a bit different from anything I'd done before. A lot of the kind of faith-based recovery or porn sort of attempts to clear me of porn before that were actually still a little bit kind of tinged with shame. Some of the language, like you talk about you've fallen, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I found that the shame kind of still kept me caught in the cycle. And what I loved about Click-to-Kick was that it had a different language. It used like a language of recovery that shame was kind of stripped away. And I also found that it just had so many practical tips, practical day-to-day practices that you could take on board. So it kind of broke it right down. It broke your recovery right down into a very practical day-to-day kind of stuff that you could do. A lot of it was around the level of your thoughts as well, how you think and how you can change your thoughts. And I also appreciated just how much work had gone into it. You could see the expertise, you could see the sort of training, the professional background of it all. So I found it to be a really amazing and transformative thing. The other thing about it as well, I guess, is that I still remember the time that the screen came on for the first time and you see all these little boxes with all these other guys on, and it's raw, and it's just, you're just there in the room with these other guys, and you're facing up to it in a really raw way. And one of the other things I'd found over the years was that I'd had a measure of accountability with different people, but it was always quite superficial. Maybe they'd get sent a report from my computer, but we'd never really have a conversation about how I was doing and that kind of stuff. And Click to Kick really helped me to find and seek out really real accountability with some great friends. And so I've now got a much stronger kind of team around me of people I can be genuinely accountable with. So I know that I'm vulnerable. I'm comfortable now with the fact that I'm going to be in recovery from this for the rest of my life. And I know how vulnerable I am, but I feel that having done Click to Kick and got involved with this, it's given me a new sense of hope for recovery, that I can live differently and that I can live free from porn. Thank you.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Thank you, Owen, for your honesty and for your bravery. And yeah, we see it all the time. It's just wonderful, isn't it? And throughout the last 10 years, we've expanded our recovery work, developing really comprehensive resources for all those who are affected by this issue, not just users, but spouses and partners, families and children. I'm going to invite Kat, our Director of Recovery, to come on stage for just a tiny bit of a chat with me. But first, we're going to hear from a lady called Joy, who sought support from us after discovering her husband's secret addiction.
Hi, my name is Joy, and I have been attending Naked Truth Wholehearted for 20 months now. When I first joined Wholehearted, I didn't even know how I felt. I was so lost, and they immediately got it. You feel loved and understood, and your feelings are valid, and it's amazing. It's just an amazing charity, amazing groups. People in my circle of friends, even though I could talk to them, they didn't understand, they didn't get it. And people online get you straight away, and you feel just loved and looked after and accepted, and you've got a friendship group immediately. Immediately you've got friends and people that get you and understand you. And even though now I am going through a divorce because my husband isn't in recovery, that is still okay. That is still acceptable. You don't feel thrown away because you've failed. No, they walk with you through everything.
This is Kat, our Director of Recovery. So Kat, Naked Truth was already supporting users when you joined the organisation, but work with partners was really important to you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I suppose like Ian was saying earlier, so many of us come to this work because we have our own personal story. And my story was one where I had experienced the deeply damaging impact of secretive and deceptive pornography use and other sexual behaviors in a relationship that was really important to me. And when I was going through that, I did the Google searches, I searched for support with a partner's porn use, and there was 1 or 2 resources for people who were using pornography in a way that was problematic, but there was very, very little support out there for people who were being impacted by somebody else's deceptive, problematic, addictive pornography use. And I remember coming across some resources that were not very helpful to me, that talked about the problem being with me as a partner, that maybe I wasn't sexy enough, maybe I wasn't giving my partner enough sex, that they had some unmet needs that were being met outside of the relationship. And kind of the support that I was trying to find was equally damaging as the initial experience. And I actually saw Ian speaking at a Christian conference. I was blown away that Christians were talking about porn, and I immediately knew that this was a charity I wanted to be involved with and the work I wanted to be involved with. And I just remember the impetus being, I don't want anybody else to feel as alone and as afraid as I felt when I was experiencing what I was going through. What I know now is that when you're in a committed, significant relationship, bearing in mind that most people don't sit down on a first date and say, by the way, I'm going to use porn in secret 3 times a week for 25 years, and if you ask me about it, I'm going to lie to you, I might manipulate you, I might even tell you stories that make you doubt your own sanity. Those conversations aren't happening, and so what I later went on to learn is that the impact of that, the attachment damage that causes in a significant relationship, actually leaves about 70% of people with post-traumatic stress disorder type symptoms. And when I learned that, I just knew that that wasn't okay, and we needed to do something.
And how's your role changed in the 7 years that you've been with us?
Yeah, I'm on my third job title in that time. As Ian said, our work has just grown as we have built a community of people seeking support and healing. One of the biggest joys of doing the work from the ground up is that we've really just been able to pay attention to what people are telling us and sharing with us, and build our resources to meet the needs of our community. So what started as the Wholehearted Partner Program went on to be our Whole Life Recovery Program, which is aimed at helping people rebuild trust within their relationships and rebuild that attachment bond. We do one-to-one work and couples work with individual practitioners within our team. And more recently, we started to do retreats and intensive therapy sessions for all the people that we're supporting. And we've been really fortunate to take that into places where there are no resources. We've done them in Australia, New Zealand, America, and here in the UK as well.
And what would you say is, for you, the real heart of what Naked Truth Recovery is about?
Yeah, for me, the work that we do in recovery is about breaking down barriers, but not just making it easier for people to access support. What we're trying to do is bridge the gap between low cost, that affordability aspect, because so many of the resources were so expensive coming out of the US, where clearly there's a different kind of setup. So we wanted to offer support that was affordable, accessible, and anonymous. But we also wanted to really kind of take resources into places where they're not, because like I said, when I was looking, there was nothing. There is a lot more for betrayed partners right now, but there are still places in the world where there is absolutely nothing. And so we really wanted to just break down as many of those barriers as we could and bring the support to the people who needed it.
Fantastic. Now we're going to end this section by hearing a recording from a lady called Kathy. Tell us a little bit about her.
So you'll have seen Joy speaking earlier, and we're going to hear more from Kathy. Kathy and her husband have both been part of our programs, and they're working together towards recovery. And the reason I think it's important to hear from both of those stories is because there's no ideal way that this plays out in a marriage relationship. And not every relationship is able to be restored, and that's really, really sad. We rejoice when that is possible and when both people choose the road of healing and recovery. And so we just really wanted to give you a well-rounded view of the ways that this can end up in people's lives.
Great. Let's listen to that.
After 4 children and 33 years of marriage, I learned that my husband had been engaging in sexual behaviors outside of our marriage, off and on, for decades. I was completely crushed, gutted, angry, and so sad. I wandered in what seemed like a wilderness for 3 months. I did not know where to turn. My husband was cared for by the church. I didn't know what I was experiencing even had a name: betrayal trauma. It felt a little like having an illness that was nameless, unidentifiable, and had no remedy. Thankfully, I was introduced to Naked Truth by divine intervention. I joined the Wholehearted program, and a few weeks following, my husband joined the Whole Life program. I wasn't sure restoration was desired, much less possible. Yes, there was the sexual acting out, but as I learned, there was the whole separate component of him growing up and becoming an adult. This was by far the harder part of the journey. Baby step by baby step, change began to happen. I received support, education, and care in my wholehearted groups that were led by skilled practitioners. I participated in topic groups around triggers, boundaries, and more. I voraciously consumed books and podcasts, learning all I could about the devastating impact of porn on your brain, your relationships, your family, and your life as a whole. These things I never knew. I learned how to care for myself for the first time in a very long time, maybe ever. Somewhere in those 33 years of marriage, similar to the frog in a pot of water on the stove, and the temperature is slowly increasing, I had lost me. I didn't know how to access my own feelings. I didn't know what I needed or what I wanted. I had spent such a long time making sure those I loved and cared for had what they wanted and their needs were met. I was encouraged and wholehearted to feel my feelings, express them, to tend to my own needs, to see myself as worthy and valuable. All the while, my husband was being supported, challenged, and educated in the Whole Life program. For one of the first times in his life, he shared his struggle with other men, fellow pilgrims. His darkness was finally brought into the light. He learned to tell the truth. He learned why lying was his go to response. This was huge. For most betrayed wives, we know that the sexual acting out is awful and painful, but for many, many women, lying is even worse. The lying is harder to wrap our minds around. He began to understand what I was feeling, what I was experiencing, and why. The men he met in groups could express that their wives were feeling and acting quite similarly. So for both of us, we were no longer walking alone. We were healing and growing in community, a community that was smart and safe, which was important to each of us. Our marriage has come through fire. There's no doubt about that. The fairy tale that I thought we were living is gone. At the same time, that doesn't mean that what we are building now can't be beautiful, meaningful, and honestly deeper than what we had. We are both different people. Neither of us would want to go back to who we were before betrayal, nor would we want our spouse to go back to who they were. We like who we are and who we are becoming.
Okay, so that was Kathy. And I just love hearing some of those stories. So good to hear. So we're going to do a little bit of a change of a gear now. You've done very well. You've been very patient, whether you're watching online, well done, you guys, love you, or you're here in the room. But what I wanted to do at this point, I think when you're kind of celebrating something for 10 years, like we are, I want to say a few thank yous. And probably there's a few people I've got in mind that specific individuals and organizations that I want to thank. But I also want to thank you guys, because the reality is, even if you're here in the room, then the chances are you had to battle your way through some traffic. Maybe you've traveled quite a long way to get here tonight. And the chances are you've prayed for us. You've given maybe financially or of your time for us. And so we've got some things coming up in the next few moments where we want to just thank you as well. But before I do that, I do want to just do a little bit of a kind of big thank you to some of the people who have been financially supporting us over the years in different ways. On the screen here, you'll see some of the different foundations and trusts that have supported us in different ways over the years. Some of them didn't want to have their name or their logo put on a screen, so there's a few more who aren't on here either. But I know that we are hugely sort of blessed by those kind of trusts and foundations, but not just these kind of trusts and foundations, but also those individuals who give maybe a one-off gift or a £20 a month. In the last 10 years, we have received an incredible £1.5 million in just people donating. Just donating. We probably have that amount again in other income streams, but 50% of the money that's come through, the £3 million that we've received over the last 10 years, has been people who've just given money. And like I say, that might be the 20 quids, it might be the 50 quids, it might be the 50,000 quids. But I know that people are the reason that we're here 10 years in as well. So we wanted to thank you by doing a couple of things. So I've got some people who are going to come on right now. Now, just round of applause, please, for these guys. So we've got Adrian, we've got Tim, we've got Mandy, and we've got a giant slingshot, everyone. And we've got some thank you gifts. So if you're online, I'm really sorry. Unless you've discovered the technology, like in Willy Wonka, to somehow kind of, appear through the TV, you're not going to get this. But we've just got a few presents. Now, that looks like a pair of pants. It's actually not a pair of pants. It is, in fact, I have no idea if this is even going to work, Adrian. You might have to go further back than that. Oh, no, that works. Okay, so this is a little bit of merch. We've got some T-shirts. What we found with our merch is it does really start a conversation. And so if you want to wear this and then tell people about who we are and what we do, we would love that. Oh, there you go. He's given up. No, okay, there we go. One more. Come on, do one more. Should we do one more? I think we'll do one more. Here we go. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yes, Karen. One more, come on. They were the rugby hands right there, Karen Cook. Okay, okay. So, that's pretty good. Enjoy the merch, wear the merch, start some conversations, okay? But we also, thank you guys, we also want you to get your headphones, okay? So the headphones that you were wearing, just get those out again. And we're going to play a little bit of a game. Now, before you put them on, let me explain the game. What we're going to do is, because we've just created or prepared some lovely little cakes, some little birthday cakes, some birthday cupcakes, but we've only got 7. Okay, so what we need to do is whittle down this huge auditorium of thousands to 7 people. So we're going to play this game that is just called Stay Standing. So what you need to do is stand up, everyone, if you're able and willing. Stay standing. And what you're going to do is you're going to put the headphones on in a minute, and you're going to choose a channel, right? So you can switch channels. And if you hear music that was made in the last 10 years, then stay standing. If you hear music that was older than 10 years, then you've got to sit down, okay? So are you ready? I'm kind of looking over towards the DJ there, Martin, doing his thing. Okay, hopefully you should start to hear some music. Are you hearing music, people, yet? No one's hearing music yet. Okay, let's give this a... Oh, no greens, people, no greens. So it seems to be 3 channels. Apologies. Choose blue or red. Here we go. So if the music you can hear is from the last 10 years, then stay standing. If it is older than 10 years, then sit down. There we go. Someone sat down. People, it looks like it's the reds who are sitting down. Reds, you're out. Okay, blues, you're still standing. We're going to go again. So you can decide, are you going to change the channel to red, or are you going to stay blue? It's up to you. Here we go. We're going to go again. So stay standing if it's in the last 10 years. No one's changed. Oh, no, a few people have changed. Okay, here we go. Oh, that did it. Oh, it's like playing Guess Who. Okay, so how many have we got left? We've got 1, 2. I think that's enough. Okay, well done. Round of applause for our people standing. You'll get a cupcake if you're standing up. Cupcakes made by Ella Henderson. If you want to book her to make a cupcake for your 10-year anniversary, then we'll organize that for you. That would be amazing. I do actually want to just make a few personal thanks at this point as well. You've been seeing a lot of John, who's our chair of trustees. He was one of the people sitting in the karaoke room, him and his wife. But we've had a load of trustees over these last 10 years. Trustees are often the unseen kind of awesome people you get to see team members and staff members and things, but you rarely get to see trustees. I'm massively grateful to our trustees. Some are here tonight, some couldn't make it, but were part of the journey, and so I'm really grateful to them. Actually, weirdly, maybe you might think, want to thank a particular couple of organizations as well. I personally really want to thank the Message Trust. You know, when you kind of work for an organization and then you say to them, do you know what, I'm going to leave to try and do something else, that organization can react in a couple of ways. But what the Message did for me is they cheered me on, they supported me, they still do in so many practical and real ways. And so I'm massively grateful for an organization that just kind of sent me out and supported me and cheered me on. In those early years, there were a few individuals and organizations whose open-handedness had such an impact on me and on my life. I remember having a meeting with a chap called Lyndon, who's part of an organization called CARE in those early days. And one of the things that Lyndon did was he introduced me to loads of funders. I mean, people don't do that, in case you're wondering. It's just not, you know, charities don't tend to share that kind of thing. But he did, and that was incredible. Paula, I've already mentioned her generosity in those early years. There was another organization called Media Watch who, believe it or not, their roots were in Mary Whitehouse, who was kind of trying to do all the work that she was doing all those years ago. And Media Watch had kind of grown out of that work. And they came to a point where, as a charity, they were winding down. And they donated all their assets to us at a time where probably, without that money, we would have had to have wound down. And that was a huge thing and was really significant at the time. There's been a few of those funders you saw on the screen who've just taken a risk with us. I remember I was at a thing a couple of weeks ago for one of those funders, and they were talking about the fact that what they like to do is fund things that they said weren't sexy but were risky, right? That's what they said. And I was thinking, I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, porn in some ways, if you're a funder, might not be sexy because it's not, you know, children in Africa or things that maybe people think of. That's easy to give money to. This is a little bit more weird and risky. And there's been a few funders who've done that, you know, over the years who've said, I know this isn't an easy thing to maybe try and do. And so they've funded that. There's an incredible foundation called the Lancaster Foundation who have supported us pretty much from the beginning, and others who have given over the years in different ways because they've wanted to pioneer something. They wanted to see something grow, and I'm massively grateful to them as well. So whether you are one of those people who've given the £5 a month, or whether you're you know, a trustee of a foundation that has really made a difference for us, we are really, really grateful to you and for everything you've done. Okay, so this next section is, I guess, the bit where we start to think a little bit about the future, really, and what's coming up next. And so I'm going to kind of share some of that with you now. I need to just flip out of this because it's frozen on me, which is, you know, technology. We've got a few things planned for the next 12 months that I want to share with you. We've got one of the things I'm really excited about for this next 12 months is we're going to do for the first time some resources for teenagers. We have been talking in schools for the whole 10 years, but what we've not done is recovery or any kind of ongoing education, really, for teenagers. But this year, we're going to be launching something new called Bright Track. And Bright Track is going to be a whole bunch of resources for teenagers that we'll be talking about in schools. It's going to help them get further education and understanding around the issue, but it's also going to have some of those kind of recovery and support videos and things like that that are going to help teenagers. That's going to be a really significant thing for us this year. We're also, remember I mentioned Control-Alt-Delete, which is that video on demand resource that we made during COVID. Well, we're kind of redoing that. We're going to do Control-Alt-Delete 2.0 this year, and just going to add some materials and kind of give that a little bit of a review, but also we're going to try and make that multilingual. And that's one of the key things that we're kind of pushing into over the next year is some of the sort of ways in which we can have more different languages with our resources. We're also going to add additional kind of church materials. So there'll be a separate church version of Control Alt Delete that will have discipleship and some of the kind of church materials that our churches need and are looking for. We are, in the next 12 months, going to be strategically international. We have always had that kind of international element with our team. We've always had team based in other parts of the world, but we've always done recovery internationally because it's been online, but we've not really had that on-the-ground stuff happening in other countries in quite the same way. We've not been in schools, we've not been training churches or parents, and that's something that we really want to change in the next 12 months and beyond. Our first step in doing that has been to employ somebody in South Africa, in Cape Town, who is kind of scoping out and preparing what it is that we can do, how we can partner with churches and schools in Cape Town. And so we're just going to watch a little bit of a video from Shell, who is our team member in Cape Town, and she's just recorded a little video to tell you about that.
Hi, I'm Shell. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa, and I recently started working with Visible Ministries, starting the Naked Truth Project here in Cape Town. It's early days, but I have to say that we really seem to be sensing open doors and excitement about the project. I'm meeting with church leaders, pastors, and other NGOs, and there's a general, yes, this is what we want. We want to come on board. I think something of the tone of the Naked Truth is refreshing, new, different, full of hope. I think when facing a problem like pornography, there can be a tendency to come with fear, looking at the problems, looking at the devastation that it causes. And at the Naked Truth, we're realistic about that. We're truthful about that. But we're also full of hope that lives can be transformed, that families can be changed, that relationships can be made new, that broken lives can be healed. And so we come in and we say, there's a devastating picture, but there's a greater picture. And we want to turn our eyes there so that lives can be free, so that eyes can be opened.
So that's Shell, and our plan is that we're going to try and start charities in some of these other countries. And so South Africa may be the first country that we do that in, just so that we can put people to go into schools, we can put people working with churches in those areas. We're also looking at Australia, where we've got a lot of clients, and New Zealand, and the States, of course, as well. And so over the next few years, we really see that kind of international part of our work being really key. But also, it's not just about having people in other countries. It's also, as I said, this idea of how can we speak the language that different people speak. We've already got click-to-kick groups running in non-English, but we want to do more in other languages, whether that's through our resources. We've currently got an intern who lives in Brazil who's going to be developing social media content in Spanish and Portuguese this year. We're looking to do more and more intentionally that is international. Another focus that we've got is students and young people. Again, this year we've got a new member of staff who's really focusing on how can we work on campus with students. As you can imagine, amongst this age group, there is a huge, huge issue around pornography. And we want to be engaging those that think it's harmless fun in conversation, as well as helping some of the Christian students to be the people who say, actually, we think we've got some answers here. And so equipping and helping them as well. And so these are some of the things in the next 12 months that we want to do as Naked Truth. But what about Visible? You might have heard us kind of hinting a little bit that maybe there's another mountain that we want to take on, or another valley that we want to see lifted up. And the truth is, there is definitely some things that are brewing. There's some things that we're thinking about and praying about. One of the things I think at the moment for me feels really a priority is the fatherless generation. I've been reading more and more, both the sort of stats and studies around that, but also just in the Bible too, and God's heart for the widow and the orphan, you know, the powerless and the parentless. And so we think that maybe one of the things that we'll be doing next is starting to think and imagine, okay, what can we do for a generation of people that might be parentless? What does that look like? What does that mean? How do we awaken souls to the Father heart of God? How do we stir hearts towards the fatherless so that maybe people actually do more for them? And so we're praying, we're meeting with people, we're having conversations, we're finding out what's already going on in this sphere, and we're trying to learn from them. So watch this space. That is definitely something that is stirring and something that is brewing, as I say. And so for the next 12 months, our income target, our budget for the next 12 months is £720,000. Now, for some of you, that might be like, oh, yeah, okay, that's not very much. Some of you like going, yeah, what? But that's where we are, okay? So we've got this target of £720,000 for the next 12 months. And in that target, we've got another target for donations, regular and one-off donations from individuals. So not those trusts and funds, just, the people like you guys who are watching right now, we're sitting here right now. And our target for that is 72,000. It's 10%. So 72,000 pounds. And we've got another target. And that's for today, or for this event and some of the things that will happen off the back of this event. And guess what? It's just to keep the numbers really, really easy. It is 7,200. See what we're doing here? It's simple maths. I've got 2 accountants on my trustees, and so it's fine. We can do the maths. And so here's the thing. I don't want to do a big heavy money ask because it's not about the money. And lots of you already have given and do give. So I get that, okay? I don't want to do that. But that is a genuine thing that is going on for us as an organization. If we want to see that growth and that development, if we want to see some of these things that we've planned and that we've hoped for, then we do still rely, our budget is kind of allowing for and expecting that people will continue to bless and give and sacrificially help us. And so what we're going to do is that in a minute, Josh is going to come with his guys, and they're going to perform another song, and there's going to be a QR code on the screen, and you can choose what you want to do there. There's options when you use that QR code to maybe just get involved, actually, rather than give financially. Maybe you're not an associate, but you'd like to find out, how could I get involved in running click-to-kit groups or even going into schools? And so you can click on that, and that is you giving too, right? It's not always about the money, but maybe even if you are already a giver or you've given in the past, you could consider giving something towards that target that we've got for this event of £7,200. And so I'm going to welcome the band and Josh on the QR codes on the screen. You can decide whether you're just going to bop or whether you're going to click. That's entirely up to you.
I know you've been sitting for a while, so if this beat catches you and you feel like you want to stand up and move a little bit, even, the very British clapping your hands, feel free to do so. This song is called Flowers, and it has some of the story of my recovery and finding peace of mind in the words of Jesus, who said, look at the birds of the air and the flowers of the field, and remember how far more the Father in heaven takes care of you and loves you. Let's do it. Yeah. Check. Tell them.
I know that you've been anxious.
Yeah. Feeling like there ain't enough hours in the day.
And life can be so thankless.
Yeah. Getting nothing back for the ways you make a change. I know that you've been calling out and cussing every time you pray. Stop and smell the flowers on your way. Stop and smell the flowers on your way. Can you spare a penny for my thoughts or something more? Looking for shrapnel on the floor outside the corner store when we were at our poorest. Count coins for the meter with no food left in the freezer. And a preacher spitting through the speaker, Lord have mercy. I pray the change gon' come, and my God can make a way where there ain't no one. I feel a slave to the songs with my month the funds. Chased by these deaths and regrets and these pests that I can't outrun. Take some time to find the lies behind the rage, cause the spirit of this age has me feeling like I'm caged. Demons feeding on my dreams, feasting on my brain, stealing my domain. I need a peace that can't be reasoned or explained. Keep on praying. Yeah, feeling like the rain and the flowers in the day, and life could be so. Getting nothing back for the ways you make a change. I know that you've been calling out and cautious every time you pray. Stop and smell the flowers on your way. Stop and smell the flowers on your way. Anxious about the evidence of my influence and relevance. My penmanship is heaven sent, but the devil's on my neck again. Wish I could tell a friend I've been walking through hell again. Up at night from Mason Arbeck with adrenaline. Life is fleeting, I learn more from recovery meetings and hearing preachers speaking. Ain't no teacher like your weakness. A broken man told me there's a difference between being lonely and the solitude that confronts and controls your own self-loathing. He said until you've been alone and face what only you control, you wreak havoc upon the world, and you're like it's not your fault, so keep forgiving. Keep listening and bearing witness. You find a peace without condition that transcends and won't diminish. So, yes, feeling like the rain and the flowers in the day, and life can be so. Getting nothing back for the ways you make a change. I know that you've been calling out and cursing every time you pray. Stop and smell the flowers on your way. Stop and smell the flowers on your way.
When your peace is lost and it can't be found, look up, look down, look around.
When your peace is lost,
your peace is lost
and it can't be found.
It can't be found.
Look up,
look down, look around.
When your peace is lost,
your peace is lost and it can't be found.
Look up, look down, look around. When your peace is lost,
when your peace is lost
and it can't be found. Look up, look down. When your peace is lost.
When your peace is lost and it can't be found.
Look up, look down. When your peace is lost.
When your peace is lost and it can't be found. Look up, look down, look around.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we are, as they say, coming into land, and yeah, we're coming to the end of our time together. But there's a couple of more things we just wanted to do with you before we do that. You might remember that Tash was talking at the beginning around Jamie Oliver and this whole idea of kind of like a gourmet meal versus the junk food meal. And actually, that's something that comes straight out of the Bible. You know, this idea that maybe there's just something better on offer. Proverbs talks about it a lot, but it's Jesus talks about it too. Just this idea of what if there is a better meal than the one that you're currently opting for. But it's not just that. There's also this idea of maybe a brighter path, a better path that people can take, that maybe one road leads to darkness and another road leads to light. And this whole idea of maybe there being just something better is so key to what we stand for. You know, John the Baptist is famous for the verses that we've talked about all night. He's famous for being somebody who probably got labeled as a baptizer, right? For getting people wet. But actually, that was something he did, but it wasn't what he was for. What he was for was actually getting people ready. Getting them ready to be able to see and understand and recognize the goodness of God when it was in front of them. That's what he was about. And we get labeled too, you know, we get labeled as the porn people. And yeah, that is something we do. We talk about pornography, but it's not actually what we're for. Now, what we're really for is this idea that in some way, as we remove the mountains, as we restore the valleys, that we can also reveal Jesus, that we can reveal something that might be better than us for sure, and maybe better than the path that people are on and the decisions and choices they're making. And so what we wanted to do, and I know not everyone here is religious, and not everybody here or watching is maybe, a Christian, and so you don't have to necessarily do this in this way. But if you are, we would love you to join us in some action of prayer. And so rather than us sort of praying now in this room, what we're going to do is something a little bit different. You're going to get given some boxes right now. And these are takeaway boxes, junk food boxes, fast food boxes. Now, don't open them yet, okay? Just take them, but don't open them. But we're going to use these as just part of something that we would love you to do. Because here's the thing that I believe, okay? I believe that we are all, and the people that we want to work with and walk with, we are all made for more and we're made from more. I believe that actually there is something better. I believe that actually there is something more that people can have in their lives and maybe what they're currently experiencing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use these boxes as a way of reminding ourselves of that after this event is over, after we've stopped talking about porn, maybe. I want you to go away and to use these boxes, because what we want you to do, what we want you to realize is that you and the people that you live with and the people that you work with and that you see, that you are made for more. And so what we're going to do is you can open up those boxes now, and you'll just see that there's a piece of fruit. That's all it is. Sorry, it's not a burger, but that's the point. You see, the truth is, like, an apple, an orange, whatever it is you've got in your box, that is actually the better thing, isn't it? That is the healthier option. And so what I'd love you to do is when you go home tonight, at some point over the next couple of days, I'd love you to eat that piece of fruit, not just scoff it down, but actually use it as a way of praying. I'd love you to eat that fruit and begin to pray for the people that we long to have a better option, a better choice in their lives. And so what I want you to do is to pray that people will discover that better thing, that banquet that Jesus talks about, that brighter path, that better thing, that sweeter song. And so literally that's all I'm going to ask you to do tonight. I'm going to ask you to use the apple, the orange, whatever it is you've got, as a way for you to join us in praying for the better thing for people.
Great stuff. Thank you, Ian. Now, Ian, I'm going to ask you just stay on stage for a second. We are just about at the end of our evening, and it would be remiss of me not to kind of pause and to thank Ian for his real dedication and his hard work over the last decade. Now, as a friend of Ian and as a trustee, it would be easy for me to say nice things about him. And if you were horribly cynical, you might think that I would only do that because I'm a friend and a trustee. But I therefore thought that it would be much more impactful for you to hear what some of his team think about him. So, Ian, this may be a little embarrassing for you, but hey, I'm chair of trustees, I'm pulling rank, and I have a clipboard, so deal with it. It speaks, I think, the world when you hear a leader's team say, we should acknowledge that none of us would be here without the courage, vision, and faithfulness of Ian. His willingness to allow God to use his own story, his own pain, his family's tragedy, birthed everything we've celebrated tonight. Ian is a leader of extraordinary balance. His ability to hold firmly to his own convictions while making space for others to step into their calling and pursue what God has given them to do is remarkable. Ian has said many times that starting a porn charity was not on his list of goals at school, and we believe that, but it feels like he did something only he could do, and that Naked Truth is what it is because of his leadership. Ian, we love you. We appreciate you, and we hope you will take a moment to hear the voice of God say to you, well done, good and faithful servant. as all that has been accomplished in the last decade is traced back to you, gathering your mates in a karaoke bar, wondering what the church should do about porn. Somebody needed to do something, and we're all grateful that you did. Isn't that amazing that his team say that about him? And Ian, there's a gift that we would love to give you to say thank you for all that you've done and for the way that you lead.
Mate. Thank you very. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff. So thank you again for being with us. Please join us to increase and further this work. Pray for us. Please consider giving, or if you already give, please consider giving more. Please consider joining the team. There are various ways this can be done. You don't need to have your own porn recovery journey in order to do so. And please spread the word. There are so many great Christian charities out there, but all would need, and I would say this one in particular, because of the subject matter that it deals with, it needs people to represent and to champion it. So please do what you can. Thank you so much for being with us. And to play us out, we have Joshua and the band one more time. Please stand. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's get to our feet. We got one more for you. We've been hearing about this evening, the light that shines in the darkness. So we're going to do this song called Shine On. And I need you to participate. Scott, give us the riff. All right. It's Saturday night, so you can move around a little bit if you want. It goes like this. Shine on. That's it. I said it goes like, shine on. Yeah. Oh my Lord, can you hear me now? Oh my Lord, man, I've been so down. I'll be waiting for my time, I'll be waiting for my shine, but the night is always darkest before that sunrise. Oh my Lord, can you hear me now? Oh my Lord, man, I've been so down. I'll be waiting for my time, I'll be waiting for my shine, but the night is always darkest before the sunrise. Like, shine on. We've been waiting all night long. We've been waiting like, shine on. We believe that the light will come. We believe that. Shine on. We've been waiting all night long. We've been waiting like, shine on. We believe that the light will come. Fighting like a titan, writing hooks like Mike Tyson. What I rhyme is getting violent worldwide. With a rising to the devil, I'm fighting. Sick of being silent. Won't paint on my face, I ain't looking like a Viking. Pillage the village, poetic goodness with the lyrics. So much vision in my spirit, make a blind and see an image. Preaching with my pain, I got nothing left to lose. Paper every word of moment, I got nothing left to prove. Oh my Lord, can you hear me now? Oh my Lord, man, I've been so down. I'll be waiting for my time, I'll be waiting for my shine, but the night is always darkest before that sunrise. Oh my Lord, can you hear me now? Oh my Lord, man, I've been so down. Alright everyone, this is it. Shine on as loud as you can. It goes like, shine on. We've been waiting all night long, we've been waiting like, shine on. We believe that the light will come, we believe that. Shine on. We've been waiting all night long, we've been waiting like, shine on. We believe that the light will come. After all the things we've been through, all the hike and the hardships, after all the things we've lived through, man, we're only getting started, right? After all the things we've been through, all the hike and the hardships, after all the things we've lived through, man, we're only getting started. One more time, after all the things we've been through, all the hike and the hardships, after all the things we've lived through, and we're only getting started. After all the things we've been through, all the hike and the hardship, after all the things we've lived through, one more time tonight, say, shine on. We've been waiting all night long, we've been waiting. Shine on. We believe that the light will come, we believe that. Shine on. We've been waiting all night long, we've been waiting. Shine on. We believe that the light will come. All right, everyone, make some noise for the incredible work of Visible Ministries, Naked Truth. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, that's it, everyone. The live stream has ended. I have no clipboard anymore. I have no idea what I'm doing. What I need to ask you to do is to kindly go back into the foyers quickly.